Welcome to FedScoopTV. I'm Corey Bennett, and I'm here today with Todd Park, the CTO in the Executive Office of the President. Todd, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me over.
So I'll start off just by asking you, tell me a bit about some of the current efforts underway to help government leverage technology to lower costs, improve efficiency. Tell me about a few of those efforts.
So there are a growing armada of initiatives being led by phenomenal people across the government along these lines. So just one I would pick out as an example to start would be RFP-EZ, which is a very exciting alpha stage project being driven by the Small Business Administration. Actually working with the Presidential Innovation Fellows Program, which is a new program that we started last summer that brings amazing tech innovators from outside government to work with the best innovators inside government on game-changing projects like RFP-EZ, which is one of the 5 selected for the inaugural round. But RFP-EZ basically seeks to address the issue that a lot of companies, small businesses in particular, don't ever compete for federal business because they don't have the experience or expertise to really understand how to do so and how to deal with our RFP process. And so the RFP-EZ team put together a portal and a process that radically simplifies the process of finding and bidding for federal contracts, starting with IT contracts. They put this thing together in about 6 months, deployed it earlier this year in alpha mode, and actually, by the way, published all the code in GitHub openly, which actually more and more products are doing across the government, which is very exciting. And in the alpha stage of this, basically posted 5 RFPs for simple website and database contracts, 4 of which were cross-posted, actually, and an A/B test on the Fed BizOps regular RFP portal. And what happened next was actually quite amazing. More than 270 businesses that had never competed for federal business before actually entered the federal marketplace and actually submitted bids through RFP-EZ. And the average bid on RFP-EZ versus the same, for the same RFP that was on Fed BizOps, there was a 30% savings, a 30% lower bid average on RFP-EZ versus FedOps. So that's very exciting. And so now there's another team of Presidential Innovation Fellows that have come in working with our SBA team to scale these initial results, to actually further tune and refine the platform, to actually turn it into an open API platform so people can build bidding and other tools on top of it. Very, very exciting. Another initiative I might talk about, one of the many I could talk about, is Portfolio Stat, which is being led by my brother, Steve Van Rokel, and agency innovators across the government. So this is a process started last year where agencies are taking a look at the portfolios, identifying places to leverage new technology, reduce duplication, reduce overlap, and it's already identified about $2.5 billion of savings, about 800 million of which agencies have reported have been realized. One example that pops out to me, like within that, is USDA basically deciding to go from 21 different email systems to 1 and have that one be cloud-based, and moving 120,000 users to that. So this is very exciting. And so that's just a process that's really still at its beginning. I think will generate more and more results over time. And just one final example I might mention is one that just illustrates kind of a general archetype of initiative that I get really excited about, which is initiatives that simultaneously improve customer service and lower cost, right? Because it's not a trade-off, right? You don't have to sacrifice customer service to lower cost. You can actually do both at the same time. And so an archetypal example of this is what FEMA has done to leverage the power of technology to aid in disaster relief and speed disaster assistance arriving to victims and survivors, et cetera. So for example, it used to be the case that post-disaster, FEMA had to send on-the-ground inspectors to actually see what the housing damage had been and where to get assistance to which families. But what FEMA is capable of doing now, what it did post-Sandy, is it's capable of actually looking at satellite imagery, aerial imagery, other data to do a lot of that remotely and get housing assistance much faster and much more efficiently to survivors than previously. Also, post-Sandy, about 57% of the people that registered with FEMA for disaster assistance did so via the web and mobile, which both is much more convenient and expeditious for the survivor, but also saved FEMA like millions and millions of dollars. And so it just really illustrates a core principle, which is that you can leverage IT to both lower cost and deliver better outcomes, deliver better social return on investment in government all at the same time.
You mentioned publishing code on GitHub
Yes.
As an example. Let's talk a bit about open data.
Yes.
What can that do to improve kind of the taxpayer return on dollar
Yeah.
for these projects we're investing in?
So open data is just a great example of how you can innovate with data and tech, I think, to increase the return on investment in government, right? So think about weather data that the National Weather Service was always collecting. Think about the Global Positioning System, GPS, that the military had built. These are canonical examples, right, in the open data world of what happens when you liberate data, right? So by opening up the GPS platform for commercial and civilian use, by making weather data downloadable decades ago, what then happened is entrepreneurs and innovators and companies basically tapped into that data, tapped into those platforms, and created Weather Channel, weather.com, crop insurance, mobile apps, location-based apps, navigation systems, literally adding tens of billions of dollars conservatively every year in value to the American economy, right? Without massive incremental government investment, right? We already had bought the military as taxpayers a fabulous GPS system, right? And so all we did was jujitsu that into the public domain, and entrepreneurs then tapped into it and created a huge amount of incremental value, right? New companies, new services, improved our lives, created jobs. So this play is a play the president is really excited about, right? It's taken a set of escalating steps to unleash the power of open data more broadly and deeply to help grow the economy, create jobs, improve lives. The latest action being the Open Data Executive Order and Open Data Policy they released in May that changes the default state of new and modernized data across government to open and machine readable in open formats, right? While obviously applying protections that would protect national security and privacy, et cetera. So, but that's a big move, and that will just add to other actions that have happened in the past few years that have made more and more data available on data.gov, which entrepreneurs across the country are tapping into and turning into companies like O-Power that helps you save money on your energy bill by tapping into government energy usage, pattern data, weather data, et cetera, has saved customers about $300 million to date and hired hundreds of people in Virginia. Companies like iTriage in Denver that tapped into HGIS data about where all the doctors and hospitals are to help power an app that 9 million people have downloaded that when you punch in your symptoms, it helps you figure out which the best doctor is and book an appointment with that doctor, which has hired 100 people in Denver. And there's thousands upon thousands of these stories across the country. The president was just out at Zillow a couple weeks ago, and Zillow and Redfin and Trulia and Realtor.com all use open government data to help power what they do. So it's just very exciting to see more and more government data being made open, and even more excitingly, more and more services, products, and companies being born with it, right? Which then radically increases the social return on the investment in that data to begin with, right? Yeah. So it's just a super exciting play.
So clearly these are some recent examples that you are very excited about. But let's look forward a bit. What are some perhaps projects, investments moving forward that you're really excited about in the next year or two?
Yeah. So first of all, all the things I mentioned are initiatives that will be continuing, right?
Of course,
and scaling, right? And that's very, very exciting. But more broadly, a few weeks ago, the president launched an effort to develop a second-term management agenda to build a better government. It's focused on how do we deliver ever smarter, ever better, ever more effective services to the American people? How do we do so at ever lower cost? And how do we actually build on open data, right, to turn government increasingly into a platform for innovation as a source of fuel that taxpayers funded, like data, that the public can tap into and turn into economic growth and middle-class jobs. So this is a very exciting effort where folks across government are mobilizing to generate all kinds of ideas for what to do next, highlighting things that are very promising that we want to actually push forward and scale further. And it's going to be, of course, an ongoing effort, building on all the effort to date, and it will keep on going, right, forever.
Yeah.
But just a very exciting cross-government push to really turbocharge that activity and generate the next fleet of initiatives, both existing initiatives to scale, new initiatives to be born, the next RFP-EZs and USDA email consolidations and open data platform plays and FEMA using tech to help disaster survivors better. Expect to see more and more and more of that on an accelerating basis over time. And again, it's powered by the folks who are here today at your forum and folks across the government, the thing that just makes me most excited is that there are so many amazing individuals across government who have amazing ideas, who are already doing amazing things that nobody knows about, and by tapping into what they're doing, right, and scaling what they're doing, and elevating what they're doing, and putting the air power and the air cover of the president behind it, I think that we can just get a lot done in terms of accelerating progress, deepening progress, and again, just increasing the social return on investment in government for the American people.
Todd, we really look forward to kind of watching these projects as they move forward. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me over.
Yeah.
All right.
For FedScoopTV, I'm Corey Bennett.